It's Thursday, 10 a.m. Welcome to Real Estate Now. My name's Keith Pitch. I am with Loan Depot here in Washington State, and I'm with my co-host,
Stacy Chevalier, and I am at a new location, so you don't see my normal background. But anyway, still here, excited to be here this Thursday morning, and I manage Washington State with Loan Depot, and obviously work with Keith Pitch. So excited to be here.
Yes, super exciting. I've got my money shirt on today, my green shirt. We're talking about real estate investing with Jennifer Beadles. Amazing opportunities out there in the real estate world. And we love to educate and kind of disseminate a message that's not mainstream, because there's a lot of mainstream media out there, a lot of articles out there about how real estate investing is really tough. But we're going to jump into that topic today. But before we do, we always have to go check on what rates are doing and check in with the mortgage market. And I have an email up, so let me turn that off. But the mortgage market is just kind of steady Eddie right now. We're cruising right there, right at about 3%, just a little over 3%. And it's busy out there. People are taking advantage of these amazing interest rates, and it's great to see that. One very shocking statistic that came out this week, and super excited about it, that home buying purchase applications are up 14% year over year. Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah. Right. Is that a national statistic, local? Where did you know where that came from?
That's national. I haven't found a granular breaking down to like Puget Sound, Washington State number, but as a nation, we're up 14% on purchase applications. We've been through a lot in this first 6 months, well, 5.5 months, and it's just crazy to me to think that home ownership is still the fabric of this nation, woven deep, and excited to help people continue that path to home ownership and building wealth. So now's a great time to take advantage of the rates and find that house and maybe get out of your apartment.
Right. So, I mean, especially right now when we're sheltering at home, I mean, I think it's very valuable to have that comfort of your own place. So
yeah, super valuable. Well, I don't want to delay this anymore because we have a very valuable conversation coming up, and I'm going to bring our guest here in with us today. Jennifer, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey, guys. Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jennifer, for those that don't know you, number one, they need to know you. But number two, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business as an agent.
Sure, absolutely. So guys, my name is Jennifer Beadles, and together with my family, we live in Snohomish, Washington. We have a little mini farm here that's about 45 minutes north of Seattle. And so a little bit about my background. My husband and I started investing in 2007, which some would say was the worst time in history to become real estate investors. And you know what? We learned a lot of lessons along the way. I ended up loving real estate so much that I started working in the real estate industry that same year that I bought my first house. So I was 21 years old, got into real estate, actually worked for a builder developer, which again was an interesting time to get into that space. But I got my real estate license in 2009. And the interesting thing was I had no desire to work as a real estate agent. I just wanted to let myself into properties and also use the commission for down payments on future properties and house hacks. And the interesting thing is my friends and family said, well, hey, can you help me buy a house? And in those first 6 months, I sold 6 houses to friends and family, kind of part-time while working full-time. And I just fell in love. And so I went full-time as a real estate agent in 2010, which again was a very interesting time. And because I had this skill set of building and development, I didn't have any listings as an agent. So all I knew how to do was build houses. And so my first 5 listings were houses that I had built where we, put money together with friends and family, built these houses. And that's kind of how I jump-started my career. So a little bit of an interesting way to get into the business. And then I saw a lot of opportunity through that, great recession period. So much so that I was helping investors buy properties at the foreclosure auction. My husband and I were flipping houses. We were building spec houses. When we would get profit from these houses that we're building or these flips, we would save those profits and then invest it into rental properties. And so, yeah, so that was kind of my life for the first, 5-6 years of working as an agent. And I built up a big investor database. And then the market here in Western Washington shifted. And the cap rates got compressed. You know, the deals weren't what they used to be. And so I made a decision to start looking in other areas. And so that's now where we're at. We actually serve investors through our brokerage, Agents Invest, helping people break into other markets that will provide higher cap rates, higher cash flow, lower prices, easier to get into these deals. A lot of people, it's hard to invest in Western Washington when we just closed on a duplex where I represented a seller on a duplex that was $470,000. For an average millennial, they can't afford to be an investor, right? Putting 25% down on $475,000. But
so can you explain to our viewers what you mean when you say cap?
Yeah, so capitalization rate. That's one way to measure an investment. That's basically the net operating income of a property divided by the purchase price. A lot of investors, they'll use like cash on cash return, which is probably an easier measurement of an investment. That is how much money in total between the down payment, the closing costs, any upfront renovations. So your total initial investment divided by your annual cash flow, which is your net cash flow at the end of the year after all expenses. So including repairs, maintenance, a vacancy rate, property management, all of the expenses.
So that's some deep stuff, but I want to back up really quick. That the duplex that you said you just represented, where was that? Was that local here?
Yes, that was in Everett, Washington.
Everett, right. So in your 10 years of doing this, you've said you built your own real estate portfolio. Where is your real estate portfolio? Is it here? Where is it?
Yeah. So we own in Washington, Indiana, Tennessee, and Texas. Wow. So I actually prefer to invest in non-income tax states. Tennessee is the outlier in that, but their income tax is like a little over 3%, so it's not much. Okay. But yeah, so I target areas that are growing in population, growing in job growth. The wages are increasing. There's good price to rent ratio, and we can get higher returns.
So this is like blowing people's minds right now, right? Because a lot of people, when they think about real estate, they think local. I have to buy my duplex, triplex, all these things here in my backyard. And now you're telling people to, hey, Seattle's expensive, Puget Sound's expensive. Let's look at other markets. Like, how do you advise and take a client through that mind shift?
Yeah, it's something that my husband and I had to get over ourselves because for the first no longer than that, for the first 9 years, we were all in Western Washington. All of our properties were here. We were very active investors. Like I mentioned, we were building spec homes and flipping and buying at the auction. So we were all in Western Washington. But it became kind of this decision point where it was like, if we wanted to continue to invest, we either needed to change our criteria and be willing to take lesser returns and lesser cash flows, or consider out of state. And so we were very hesitant in the beginning. And the first property that we purchased out of state was outside of Indianapolis in Greenwood, Indiana, which would be like Greenwood would be like our Kirkland maybe. Very high rated school districts, kind of a higher end part of Indianapolis. And so we purchased a duplex there for $155,000. And we were able to rent that out for $22.35 a month. We did fully renovate the property. And this is like the shocking part, other than just the purchase price. So we ended up doing flooring throughout. We did kitchens, bathrooms, crawl space remediation, attic remediation, appliances, full interior paint for $19,000.
Wow.
Now in Seattle, that would be $50,000 or more.
Did you know this market at all besides just, researching this? You didn't have family there, you didn't live there when you were a kid, nothing. Okay.
We did not know a single person. I had never been to Indianapolis. We literally knew nothing about it, but we have all this technology available to us. And so, I did my research. I used Google Earth to walk the neighborhood. I researched my own rents. I did a lot of research on, where people work, why, this area, why Greenwood. And then I'm someone that I like to get a lot of confirmation from others, right? So the agent said it was a good deal. The property manager said it was a great deal. The home inspector said, yeah, this is where everyone wants to live. My insurance guy said, yep, great neighborhood. So I got like 5 or 6 different opinions, and I called multiple property managers to make sure that, because their opinion really matters the most, right? When you're investing out of state, the property manager, they're going to be the one to oversee this asset for you long term. So if they're hesitant about managing that property, then that may not be an area that you want to buy. And I've had those conversations. I had a 26 unit in Corpus Christi a couple of months ago that we were under contract on. And I called several property managers, and it was a great deal. I mean, the numbers were fantastic. But the property manager said, yeah, I don't know that I'd want to take on that property in that area. And so for us, we just said, okay, pass. It's not worth the headaches of, having a property in a bad area.
That is such great advice, to reach out to the property managers to get that information. So I think it's a great takeaway for our audience. So, and great also hearing how you backed out of that last one, because you have to have some sort of self-control, I'm sure, to make the right decisions and make this pencil out as an income stream.
Well, and that's the challenge with out-of-state investing, because for us on the West Coast, everything looks cheap and everything looks like a great deal. And so you kind of have to be careful on not using our assumptions from, looking at a $50,000 house and thinking, oh, I should buy 5 of these because they're so cheap. You really need to do the research on every single property to see, well, if it's $50,000, but all the other houses in the neighborhood are in the 30s or 40s, it'll look cheap, but it's not a good deal for that neighborhood or that area. So you just have to be careful.
I don't know. Can I take this a different direction, Keith, or did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
How do you relate this compared to, there's a lot of investors out there right now investing in properties for overnight rentals. So do you do long-term rentals, or do you also help consumers and buyers that are looking for properties for the Airbnbs?
Yeah, so many of our investors actually do Airbnbs. So we also have a mastermind group called ROI Inner Circle, and it's so fun. We have an investor in there. He specializes in what's called extreme Airbnbs. And so he actually I think it was within the last couple of weeks, he opened in what he calls an extreme Airbnb. It was Harry Potter theme, and it's in Orlando. And it is the coolest place ever. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to share the link to this place because it's so awesome. But anyways, yeah, I think that that's a great opportunity, especially in that niche market like Kyle's doing, where it's an extreme Airbnb. It's decorated in a certain way. You're going to have families probably Instagramming it and YouTubing it and sharing it. I have another friend of mine, Scott, who owns a treehouse in Redmond, Washington. And our family stayed there back in March. And it is the coolest place ever. It's so funny. Our family has traveled all across the world. My daughter has been to 18 countries at 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she says that our friend Scott's treehouse in Redmond is her favorite place in the entire world to stay. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting strategy. To be honest, I don't think my personality is suited for the hospitality business. I prefer like, hey, let's get a place cleaned up, get long-term tenants in there, and then move on to the next property. So we don't personally own any Airbnbs, but we certainly have a lot of investors who are succeeding at a very high level with them.
So I love the tribe that you're building. So tell us about your community.
Yeah. So here's how this started. So my husband and I, we achieved financial freedom in about 2015. My husband retired early he was making, basic 6 figures with a union job, great benefits, but we had built up enough passive income to cover all of our expenses. And so we were asking friends to travel with us, and everyone is like, don't you understand that we can't just leave our job and go travel like you guys can? And we had one other couple who, it was really fun. We've been investing kind of alongside each other for the past 10 years. And her husband retired 10 years early from Boeing by having their real estate investment. So they're like our travel buddies. But both of us were like, gosh, we wish we could take more people along this journey with us and, kind of share. Like, I do wish that when we were just getting started, we documented and shared more about what we were doing. But it's a little uncomfortable. It's kind of a stigma to talk about money and to talk about these things in the US. I don't know why, but so anyways, we decided, my husband and I, a couple of years ago, that we're going to start getting really transparent. We're going to share, everything that we've learned and hope to meet really cool people along the way, bring others with us. So we started the Addicted to ROI community. We're a community of buy and hold investors that value, owning passive income streams in order to live our ideal lifestyle. And so we have a free Facebook group that people can join. It's called Addicted to ROI. We've got some information there. And then for people who really want to take it to the next level and hang out with some of our other friends that own 85, 75, 120 units, we have our mastermind, which is ROI Inner Circle.
That's awesome. And to have that candid conversation and to find that passive income stream and help people retire early, that is powerful. And what do you say to the skeptics out there?
I was going to ask that too, especially right now, just because you have seen the news articles, right, of the people that with what's going on with COVID-19 that got caught up with not getting rental payments. I think there is just an unease right now for some people.
Yeah, for sure. And the great thing is, especially all the friends of mine who own, 50 units and above, we all kind of check in with each other, especially this year, to kind of see what's happening. And fortunately, across the board, we have not had issues with rent collection. However, I don't want to downplay that with any investment, there's risks, right? We've seen the stock market go up. We've seen the stock market go down. It's done some crazy things this year. And that could happen with real estate as well. I think that there's some ways that you can mitigate against those risks by buying in areas that have growing populations, strong job growth, the good neighborhoods, things like that. Also, I'm a big fan, clearly, of buying properties that cash flow, so that if by chance, some tenants weren't paying, at least, the other properties would, cover the mortgage payment, right? So we operate at a 1.6 debt coverage ratio across our entire portfolio. I know, which is very conservative. But what that means, so what that means is that our rents could go down by 60% and we would break even, right? Yep. So I tend to, it might sound like I'm a risky person, right? Making all these investments, buying properties without seeing them, but it's very calculated risk. And we're very conservative. We keep very low LTV, again, a high debt coverage ratio, just because I know that, recessions, they're cyclical, right? I mean, these things happen. And so because I got started in, 2007, 2008 and kind of lived through that, it stuck with me, right? So I am very conservative. So anyway, so back to the question is, for the skeptics out there, there's going to be risk with any investment. And to be honest, if you want to live a life that is different than the traditional, work 9 to 5 until you're 65 or 75 years old, you're going to have to take some risks. But there are definitely ways that you can take calculated risks. So my advice to anyone that's looking to get started is start with a house hack. That's the best investment you can make. Buy a product, right? I mean, I could go on and
Say
on.
that again. To start with a what?
Start with a house hack. So in a perfect world, every first-time home buyer would buy a fourplex, live in one unit, have all the other units pay that mortgage payment, save all of the difference that you would be paying in rent or on a mortgage, and then use that to invest in other properties. I have a friend of mine, her and her husband, they are my age, they're 34 years old. They have 120 units and they started with house hacking. So for a couple of years, they just, she house hacked a fourplex, her husband house hacked a fourplex. They kept going until the lender said, okay, yeah, we see what you're doing. And then they moved on to commercial, and they never have to work another day in their life at 34 years old. They have twin boys. They travel the world. They were in Egypt earlier this year. They've trekked all across the world with their twin boys. So yeah, guys, if you're thinking
about you and just buying properties across the country, or are they more localized?
Yeah, so they're in Wisconsin.
Nice.
Yeah, and are most of the people in your group buying properties outside of wherever they live in other states, or is it just vary? Some people want to stay within their own market, some go out of state.
Yeah, I would say most people are looking to invest out of state, just where the prices make sense. However, we have some in our community. Again, I have another friend that owns 85 units, basically in Seattle. And then I've got, Anne, who I'd mentioned in Wisconsin, they're, 120 units. They're all in Wisconsin. And then some people, they've got like another friend of mine. He's I think he's at 120 units now. He's in Washington, Oklahoma, and Tennessee.
I think it's going to be really interesting as people are now working from home, those that do have the 8 to 5 jobs, and where they decide to be purchasing or renting or living. I think it could definitely change the landscape of where we do see people buying these properties and choosing to live. So I just am fascinated to see where the next 5 years go in housing. And I'm sure you're tracking that too, of where the next investment should be, because it feels like a fairly large shift is coming.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been kind of like wondering what would cause a migration shift for the last couple of years. And then I feel like I found my answer this year. And it's really interesting. It's kind of fun because in our Facebook group, we have a couple of like diehard Seattle people that that I love. I love this discussion because they're saying, no, it's about appreciation versus cash flow. There's no appreciation in the Midwest. You should be buying for appreciation. And again, because I lived through 2008, I know that model isn't sustainable. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen multimillionaires lose everything who were banking on appreciation. And so it's a really fun argument for me, or not argument, but just dispute about where people are going to be going. And so for a couple of years, I've been thinking, well, shoot, if you can take your Seattle wage and live in a place like outside of Nashville, Tennessee, which is so cool. I mean, they have lakes and rivers and trees, and it's green, and it's a non-income tax state. And you can go into Nashville and hear live music and great food. Same with like Austin, Texas, right? I mean, look at the growth that's happened in Austin, Texas. Those are just two examples of non-income tax states where you don't have some of the issues of Seattle, right? Of crime and homelessness and, graffiti and all of these different things that, some of these West Coast cities are experiencing. So it'll be really interesting. It'll be really, really interesting to see.
It's funny you mentioned Austin. I've had 2 of my close friends move to Austin this past year. And then I had a repeat client who was like, hey, are you licensed in Montana? Because Loan Depot is a national lender. I'm like, I'm not personally licensed in Montana. He's like, well, Microsoft says I can relocate anywhere. I think you had to be there X amount of years. And so I'm taking my Microsoft wage and I'm going to Missoula.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that you will definitely see a migration shift to that extent as more and more companies, only through a requirement of working from home, are realizing, hey, this isn't half bad for our employees. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, and think about what that does for homeownership too, right? So if you're working in Seattle and you want to buy a house, you're going to be looking at least $500,000-$600,000 for a townhouse, right?
Yep.
But you go to, again, outside of Austin, depending on where you're at, you could be potentially half that, right?
Yeah.
You could even house hack a duplex for half that. So I think it'll be really interesting.
Well, let's close on some house hacks. One strategy that you have on Addicted to ROI is the BRRRR strategy. And explain, we just came last week, we did renovation lending, and one of the renovation offers is non-owner occupied single family residences. So tell us what BRRRR stands for.
Yeah, great. So I love this strategy. So BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, and refinance. And so you can pretty much BRRRR anything. I mean, I've bought BRRRRs where we did not put a penny into a renovation just because I bought it at the right price, at the foreclosure auction, right? But typically it means you're buying a property that is undervalued, likely due to, the condition, right? So it needs some work. And then you fix it up, you put a tenant in there, and then you refinance it using the new appraised value. And obviously, Keith and Stacy, there's differences between rate and term refinance and cash out refinance and some seasoning there. But the benefit is if you can make the numbers work, then you could potentially get back all of your initial investment, recycle that capital, and go do it on another property. And so it's really fun. We have an investor in our ROI inner circle named Pete. He came to a meetup of ours in February of last year with no rental properties. And he is on I think he's up to 12 BRRRR deals now. He's been focused in Oklahoma City and Kansas City. And he is just killing it. He lives in Issaquah, right? So he's from Seattle, and he is investing all out of state, all using the BRRRR strategy.
That's such a great story. So if there is someone out there listening and they want to join one of your groups and they're looking at purchasing out of state, do you help them with the real estate transaction? Do you get them, those resources, or is everyone just getting their own license and trying to do this on their own?
Yeah, so we're only licensed to do business in Washington State. However, we refer these investors to licensed real estate agents in their state. So to kind of streamline the process, though, because the first question that investors ask is, where do I start? Which market? And so we always tell people, okay, the first thing you have to do is start with your why. So you have to get really committed to why are you thinking about investing? What is the long-term plan? Get committed to, your reason for making these investments. And then the next step is getting pre-approved, right? Know what you can qualify for financing. And if you're looking to do a BRRRR strategy, then know what the refinance process looks like, right? Because you need to structure it ahead of time in order to do the refinance properly.
Thank you for saying that, yes.
You don't want to buy and then find out later you've got to wait 6 months because the way you structured the deal. So that's like step 2. And then step 3 is you can join our email list. It's totally free. You can go to addictedtoroi.com, scroll down, you'll see deal list. And we put out deals every Wednesday in all of the markets we're in. So in the last week, we've sent out an RV park in Texas. We've put out fourplexes, duplexes, BRRRRs. Today, we just sent out a really nice kind of turnkey style house in Tennessee that had a 14.5% cash on cash return. So it's like $41,000 out of pocket. You'll make $500 a month in net cash flow after factoring in all the expenses. So we really kind of have a buffet, if you will, of real estate opportunities and then also markets, because some people, they want maybe 50-50 appreciation cash flow. Some people, they don't care about appreciation at all. They just want cash flow, somewhere in the 15% cash on cash. So we have those deals too. And then again, you find a deal on our list that you like, and then you'll get connected with one of our agents in that market, and then they'll facilitate the transaction from there.
Okay. So are you also doing, so it sounds like you used to do meetups. Are you doing virtual meetups now, or is it mainly just through this email that people should track?
Yeah, it's such a bummer because, we were doing these great meetups and it was so fun to connect, local investors with other investors, because then they could hear what we're doing and then also learn from each other. And then COVID-19 happened and we, had to stop doing that. But now that's given us the opportunity to put together virtual meetups and allow access to, we even have some investors in Canada, in Germany, in the UK that, watch these virtual meetups now. And so, so I think we're going to stick with that for a while, at least until we're allowed to, kind of get together. And so our next one is on the 24th, and we're actually talking about out-of-state investing. So we have a panel of investors in our mastermind group who are going to share about their experiences.
Yeah, I saw that's posted on your Facebook page, Jennifer. One thing that I want to say, it's always interesting when you present as a real estate agent, I present as a mortgage professional. That there's, to the audience, there's this level of, well, you're just getting paid, right? Yep. And the thing that I love about your meetups is you bring your investors, and they're the ones that actually present during the presentations. It's not you, it's really real people going through their process, showing their journey on how they got there to build their real estate portfolio. And it was really interesting. I went to your last meetup in February before we all got shut down. And there was meeting room only. And I forget the gentleman's name, but he's just a really genuine guy. He went through his process of research. And what I left that meeting with, and I think you guys will all feel the same way if you do join one of these meetups, is that these are real people doing some real work for real results. And at the end of the day, it's going to get you exactly what we're saying here on our talk today. It's going to get you that cash on cash. It's going to get you a true investment. So I was very impressed by your meetups. So I'm glad that you took them virtually. So
yeah, that's great. And just to piggyback up what you're saying, Keith, I think it just comes out so authentically, Jennifer, that this is definitely not about making more money. It's about helping other people get to a place where you can travel if that's your passion and not be worried about an 8 to 5 and not be stressed about a normal income stream. So it's really great that you share your knowledge and that you want to help other people through this process. I mean, you're a decade plus of experience through starting in 2007, like you've stated, like you have more experience than, others that maybe, did this between 1980 and 2000 just from what happened in the marketplace. So we definitely appreciate you sharing all your links and how to get people involved. I already see a couple people saying, I want to get on her list now. So we'll have a few more people joining your team. So
yeah, there it is. I also posted in the comment section here your Zoom link. So
amazing.
Check it out. Take it to the next level, folks. The best thing that we all can do is just educate ourselves and be exposed to more opportunity, and then figure out if it's right. Not all investing is right for everybody, right? But we can all agree on that. But this may be the path that is enlightening to you. So I say Zoom meetings are free.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. I didn't realize that we're well past 30 minutes already. But, I want to bid you farewell and have a great day. It's beautiful outside. The sun is shining, and enjoy the afternoon. And I'm sure we'll have you back. Maybe we'll do a case study next time.
Yeah. Oh, love case studies.
Yep, let's do it. So, well, thank you so much, Jennifer. We'll be in contact.
Thanks, guys.
And enjoy the afternoon. Wow. That is a bundle of amazing information. So
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready to start investing in Tennessee. Let's go.
I can't say it enough. You guys should just check out the Zoom meeting, see the presentation, other people actually doing this day in, day out. And if other people are doing it, why can't you? Right? It's powerful stuff. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Real Estate Now. Look forward to seeing you guys next week, and enjoy that sunshine out there. And Stacy, it's a great backdrop.
I'm doing what Jennifer. I'm in someone else's property, right? That
there you go.
They're making money off of it, and I'll be somewhere else for our next live. So we'll see you there.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. Take care.
Bye.